This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
And we're back on the Alice Stewart Show, 7:35 on this Thursday morning. My favorite segment of the week, Young Guns. We are joined with Josh Blevins, former Young Democrats of Arkansas president and Blevins Investment Group chairman, and Jack Avery, Young Republicans of Arkansas chairman and Rich Products Corporation key account manager. Jack and Josh, great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Good morning.
I want to talk to you both about the CIA report that has been released, and this is it's very controversial. Senator Dianne Feinstein, who is head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, decided to release this report. It was several $1 million in the making. It is a 5-year review of several 6,000-page report on CIA interrogation techniques, looking at waterboarding and various ways that the CIA is used to investigate terrorists. Now, these are terrorists, mind you. And there have been a lot of questions about why this was released and why so much attention was placed on investigating this. And reporters asked White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest about this yesterday, and the so-called the questions in the report releases about what many view as harsh interrogation methods. Here is Josh Earnest.
The benefit of releasing this report and taking a significant step to rebuild our moral authority was necessary and does overall strengthen our national security and does more to protect our interests around the globe, based on the fact that we can also take the necessary steps to protect against any sort of increased risk that may occur.
Josh, your thoughts?
He's exactly right. The problem is not that we released a report on torture. The problem is that we tortured in the first place. I think it was John Wooden, the famous UCLA basketball coach, who said character is what you do when nobody is watching. It doesn't matter if we treat our enemies, well, when we only believe people are watching. It doesn't matter if we live up to our values only when we think the cameras are rolling. America is more than a big piece of land that is bookended by two oceans. It's a set of ideals. It's that shining city on a hill that from the Sermon on the Mount that Kennedy and Reagan referenced. And we've got to live up to the ideals that we espouse.
Jack?
I agree with Josh that the United States government needs to act ethically, but we also need to be sure that we're extracting appropriate information to protect Americans. What I find interesting about that statement, Alice, that you played is they think that this is, a great step towards, being a more transparent government, yet they still justify all their drones attacks, even sometimes on American citizens. So how do you justify one and condemn the other? And there's no doubt about this report being chilling. It is a very chilling report, the information in there, but what it is missing is something that I would like to see are the testimonies of the people that were running the programs and the Department of Justice officials that decided not to prosecute. Where's the oversight hearings, the United States hearings? Where's the oversight, United States Senate, talking to Michael Hayden today? I'm curious if they just lost his phone number. They can't find him. They can't ask him questions about this report and its legitimacy.
Yeah, there are a lot of folks questioning what is in the report and what was left out. Former Vice President Dick Cheney was very critical of the release of this information and this report. He calls the report full of crap, a terrible piece of work that is deeply flawed. Other Republicans there in Washington have concerns about the release of this sensitive data. Trey Gowdy, who is a committee chairman of the Benghazi attack and also outspoken there in Washington. He's on the Benghazi Special Committee. He says that he was shocked at the amount of time that was put into this report and the overall cost of the investigation. Here is South Carolina Representative Trey Gowdy.
$40 million and no interview of witnesses. that decision will have to be made at a significantly higher pay grade than mine, whether or not the House is going to look at that.
Jack?
I absolutely agree with the congressman. If you're going to spend that much time and effort into reviewing the policies and procedures of the CIA following 9/11, why are they not bringing people in to question those activities, folks with the authority to execute on those actions, and ask them, was it fruitful? Was it a good use? Was it inappropriate? And how did we get to the point that we were doing some of these very, inappropriate and unethical practices? And we just don't see that happening. The United States Senate is not asking the right people the right questions. They're just putting out a report.
Josh?
This was a different type of report. These weren't hearings. This was not something that was intended to be a bunch of people come together and we hash out, different sides of the issue. What this was the Senate taking a look at at internal CIA documents, at testimony that had already been provided, and trying to sort through and figure out exactly what happened, when it happened, what the value, if any, was of the torture and interrogation programs. These weren't open hearings. This was a review of the information, the copious amounts of information that the CIA had already provided, and a review of their internal documents. And what they found was that torture simply did not provide any, good intelligence that saved American lives.
I think that. Go ahead, Jack.
Didn't we put that to bed years ago when all this information first came out? If that's true, Josh, it seems to me that this report is superfluous. It just is unnecessary since we've already had this conversation before 2008 when President Obama was elected to office and said that this is not appropriate practices and we're not going to do it anymore, and then move on. It just seems to me if it's true that it was just solely a review, we're not actually going to try and get to the bottom of it and determine whether or not we should continue to use these practices, or if the CIA continues to use these practices, then why even issue the report in the first place? Because
there is some new stuff we learned. We learned that the torture was more brutal than was previously acknowledged. We learned that there was minimal oversight. We learned that the President Bush requested that he not be notified of the details of the plan. We learned that Colin Powell was intentionally not provided extensive information on the programs because they thought that he might speak out about it. We learned that at least 26 detainees were wrongfully held, were wrongfully held. We learned that the CIA and the Bush administration repeatedly misled Congress and the American people about the extent and the effectiveness of these programs.
Josh,
and we learned that the CIA was leaking classified information to journalists. So we learned quite a bit in this report.
So then why are we not bringing people in to ask them follow-up questions? If all this new information that's coming out, the United States Senate is issuing out a report and they're not going to ask any of these follow-up questions, why are they not interrogating the folks and bringing them up on Capitol Hill and asking them, why did we do it the way that we did it? And can you justify your actions? And why are we not prosecuting? I don't see those questions being asked, and without any legitimate testimony, I have some questions over why we're even going through this process again.
I think that there will probably be demands to have that kind of have the kinds of hearings. I certainly hope that there will be, and I assume I don't hold my breath with the Republican Congress coming in, but I hope that now this report has been issued, that sort of stuff does happen.
Well, see, I don't think that there needs to be a demand. I think that Senator Feinstein, who's going through this process, should already be demanding it as she was uncovering this new information.
I just feel like with as much time and money spent on this, we have more comprehensive information in this report. We will continue this conversation. We're going to take a break, and we will be back with Josh Blevins and Jack Avery after this on the Alice Stewart Show. This segment of the show brought to you by Aero Plumbing. Give them a call, 501-588-3200, or go online, aeroplumbing.net.